Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. This is the final episode that I had for you this morning, unless I get some breaking news but this is all I have planned for you. There are 4 articles in this episode. The first one here is off of StarTribune.com. All these, of course, are in the description of the video for your convenience. Group finds new home at Bethany Lutheran Church in Minneapolis. Neighborhood location offers more space. It's closer to clients, and CAIR staff members hope serves as a sanctuary. Hussein, executive director of CAIR, gave of the Islamic group's new offices in Bethany Lutheran Church in Minneapolis. Knew the cramped Minneapolis office of the Council on American Islamic Relations wasn't big enough to hold the growing staff much longer. It was the threats, hate-filled letters, and menacing phone calls directed at the organization that sent him in search of something more than extra square footage. CAIR held an open house last week to celebrate its new office in Bethany Lutheran Church in Minneapolis' Stewart neighborhood. A location that offers more space, is closer to clients, and CAIR staff members hope serves as a sanctuary. The alliance comes amid heightened fear and uncertainty for local Muslims as hate crimes against them rise. On Friday, President Donald Trump issued an order temporarily barring refugees from entering the country. Officials with the civil rights organization and the church hope that they can work together to undercut discrimination. These are our allies, said Hussein, local executive director. These are the people that stood with us when we were challenging Islamophobia. Mike Matson, pastor of Bethany Lutheran Church, said the congregation has parishioners from across the political spectrum to be open and willing to come to the middle where it's messy but safely with integrity. He said it's unfortunate there is such anger and division in the country. Of how people can come together so that we can stop hate, name calling, and labeling, Matson said. He acknowledged that the CAIR has dealt with threats of violence. At least 3 of the threats in 2015 were serious enough that CAIR reported them to police, included threats of physical harm and a taunting letter. But Matson said the congregation is because of its history of supporting advocacy organizations and its stance authorities and the gay community. Received threats, ordained an openly gay pastor, and opened its doors to other faith groups. The church has leased space to Latino worker advocacy group Centro de Unidos in Lucha. It has invited an African small business to make bread in the kitchen and partnered with a Tunisian chef to provide a free hot soup meal to the surrounding community. President of the Bethany Lutheran Church Council said the group voted unanimously in support of leasing the space to CAIR and building an interfaith partnership, partnering with CAIR with the Augsburg College campus ministry, helping make. We are honored to have them offices within our walls, Holte said. At the open house attended by nearly 60 church members and CAIR supporters, Hussein tours of the new space. He showed off their offices lining the quiet first floor hallway and explained CAIR's Muslim civil rights mission. Hussein said the local chapter deals with employment discrimination, teaches people about constitutional rights, provides training about culture and religion, and challenges Islamophobia legal efforts. Communications director of Isaiah, a faith-based advocacy coalition focused on social justice issues, said she was encouraged CAIR and Bethany Lutheran were joining forces. She said interfaith groups need to be moral voice and a moral compass in the current political and social economic climate. Bethany and CAIR want to grow their interfaith alliance, but have not mapped out their outreach efforts in the community. Begun to share volunteers. The church also has invited CAIR and its clients to share in the midday community meal served on weekdays. College pastor Sonia, who helped connect Bethany and CAIR, said the partnership is crucial to building multi-faith community. About it because it's part of being neighbors, Hagender said. Derevi, a community activist who was at the open house, said he's happy to see CAIR breaking down barriers between different faiths. It's particularly important at this time when, he said, Trump has used rhetoric that focuses on dividing people. Unified in times of difficulty, Derevi said. Our teaches us to work with people. But will Muslims feel comfortable going into a Lutheran church? Yes, said Sheikh Hassan Jamba, executive director of the Minneapolis-based Islamic Association of North America. He pointed out that many Muslim refugees have resettled in the United States with the help of churches. Culturally and religiously, I don't see a conflict, Jamba said. A good location and it's convenient for everyone. The next article that I have for you is off of Free Beacon, and it says Representative John Lewis and top aide hit with ethics complaint. Dem and his chief of staff violated rules on outside employment. A watchdog group is asking congressional ethics official to investigate Representative John Lewis, Democrat of Georgia, and his chief of staff over apparent violations of health ethics rules, according to a letter released on Monday. The Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust letter is asking the Office of Congressional Ethics to probe Lewis's chief of staff, Michael Collins, on dual roles in the congressman's Washington office and as the treasurer for the 2016 re-election campaign. Bar senior House staff from serving in any fiduciary role for a political organization, and specifically mentioned campaign treasurers as a prohibited position for such staffers. The complaint doesn't just target Collins, it claims that Lewis himself is culpable for ethics violations by his top staffer. In this case, not only did Collins directly violate these rules, but Representative Lewis also violated the ethics rules because his own campaign employed Collins in a prohibited position and paid him a prohibited salary to OCE. Washington Free Beacon first reported on Collins's dual roles in his personal financial disclosure statement. He reported $27,495 in income from the campaign. House Ethics Committee previously sanctioned Collins for failing to disclose or pay taxes on more than $50,000 in income from Lewis's campaigns. By the campaign for work going back to 2002, though he did not serve as treasurer until the 2016 cycle. Collins' campaign income for each year since 2012 was exactly or almost exactly the limit for senior staff outside income set by House ethics officials for those years. Ethics rules are based on fundamental and important principles that require enforcement to maintain the public's trust. Complaint. Therefore, we urge the board to immediately investigate and take appropriate action in response to this violation of House ethics rules. Fact Executive Director Matthew Whitaker, a former U.S. attorney, said in an interview that he believes the OCE will find a very clear violation of not only the letter but the spirit of the rules. Whitaker did not say what specific action he hoped OCE would take or what sanctions he felt would be in order, but noted there's a lot of room, ultimately, for the Ethics Committee to take action. He survived congressional efforts to disband the office, which some Republicans said is prone to politically motivated leaks, process for members accused of wrongdoing. They walked back after outcry from congressional Democrats. The OCE to vigorously pursue his complaint lest ethics rules be seen as toothless. These types of rules, then members of Congress of their staff should be aware of them and follow them, and not just err on the side of compliance, he said. Lewis's office did not immediately respond to her comment. And the next one I have is off of jihadwatch.org, and it says, no more weekend changing of the guard ceremonies due to fears of jihad attacks. Windsor Castle has canceled changing of the guard ceremonies amid fears of a terror attack after devastating incidents in Berlin and Nice last year. The long-standing tradition will no longer take place on Saturdays due to concerns over the possibility that jihadists could target the thousands of tourists who gather to enjoy the show. The tragic example of civilizational jihad, the weekend ceremony that draws the most tourists, a ceremony representative of British culture and history, is nixed because of the terror that was cast into the hearts of the disbelievers by jihadists within. The changing of the guard is said to be one of the highlights of the visit to Windsor Castle. Weekend ceremonies axed amid fears of Berlin-style terror attack by Harry Walker Express on January the 29th reports 2 major truck attacks have shaken Europe over the past year. In December, murdered and 50 injured after a terrorist plowed a truck through a busy Christmas market in Berlin at high speed. 86 people were brutally killed and hundreds more hurt after a cowardly jihad drove a lorry into a crowd celebrating Bastille Day in Nice. Ordered top military officials to alter the ceremonial timetable, busiest times in the week, and in the wake of the Berlin attack. Troops will now only perform the ceremony on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Also been ramped up with armed police checkpoints and road closures. Have been blasted by local residents and traders over concerns they will lose money if the ceremonies are scrapped entirely. Mother of 2, Polly Miller, age 37, says families won't be able to go during the week because of school and work commitments. I think you're going to get a generation of disengaged British people. And the final article that I have in this episode for you is off of Western Journalism, and it says, report in March for Life rally. It will mark the first time a vice president is present. House official confirmed Thursday that Vice President Mike Pence will speak at the March for Life rally on Friday, according to the New York Times. Tom reported Pence's participation will mark the first time a vice president has ever appeared in person at the annual event, which is expected to draw hundreds of thousands of marchers. Pence has been unequivocal in his support and born. Let me be clear. People who know me well know I'm pro-life, and I don't apologize for it, he stated at the Values Voters Summit in September. I want to say that we put the sanctity of life back at the center of American law, and we send Roe versus Wade to the ash heap of history where it belongs. Tweets in this, if you want to take a look at those, and there's some video in it if you want to take a look at that. And the article continues. It says, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer stated at a briefing Tuesday that President Donald Trump will do something along those lines. I think it is no secret. Campaigned as pro-life president. It's something that very important, as evidenced from the Mexico City policy reinstatement that he issued yesterday. Spicer said, we'll obviously have presence there. Councilor Kellyanne Conway has been officially confirmed as Speaker for Life rally, which is slated to begin at noon Eastern near the Washington Monument. By the Western Journalism, the Alliance for Fair Coverage of Life Issues announced its second annual Cover the March campaign Wednesday, designed to spotlight the bias in the media's failure to cover the annual pro-life event. 3 major broadcasts, ABC, CBS, and NBC, of 35 seconds of coverage last year. In contrast, the decidedly pro-abortion rights Women's March received at least an hour and 15 minutes of airtime. Is certainly in the headlines this week with Trump's reinstatement of the Mexico City policy barring federal funds from being used to promote overseas abortions, and the House of Representatives vote to permanently ban taxpayer funding for abortion. Attention to the issue is the president's impending announcement of the justice to Supreme Court seat left vacant by the death of Justice Anton Scalia. Trump has promised to nominate only pro-life justices. Spokeswoman for the pro-life Susan B. Anthony list that she is very encouraged by what she has seen already with the new administration. Gave us 4 concrete commitments during the campaign, including pro-life Supreme Court justice, redirecting taxpayer funding to medical centers that do not provide abortions, advancing the bill which would ban abortions after 5 months, and codifying the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits taxpayer funds from being used to pay for abortions, she said, adding of those things are moving. President Trump's interview with ABC News on Wednesday, during which he highlighted the media's failure March for Life in the past, despite the turnout being as large or larger than the Women's March, with the participation of Pence and Conway, among other luminaries, March, as well as the airtime given the recent Women's March. The mainstream media have no excuse not to give Friday's event excuse me not to give Friday's event significant coverage. You have everything that I have for you, and give it a thumbs up so everybody gets to hear the news. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and we'll see you later. Have a great day.